Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guest today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice, and we got a cool episode lined up today. I'm excited to unpack it with you as we're listening together, and I have a very special guest with me, but we are going to be talking about creating mini advocates for your business. I've never heard this term before. I've heard of advocates for your business. Never heard of mini advocates. So I'm excited to see where we go with this. And I have a special guest, Swire Ho, the promo guy, which is fascinating. So before we go any further, Swire, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to be on your show, Brandon.
I'm excited to have you here. I shared with you before we started recording. I used to own a business in the promotional products industry, and I sold that in the middle of last year. So I'm excited to hear what you're doing, how you're creating mini advocates. But before we get there, I always love to hear your story of how you got here. How did you get started in this industry, and how did you get here today?
Well, as you know, Brandon, no one will go to school or dream one day I want to be in the promotional product business.
Definitely not.
So long time ago, I used to be in the CD DVD replication business. So we make CD and DVDs for musicians, film companies. Along the way, they ask, we're going on tour. Do you guys do T-shirts, hats, or when we do a red carpet, do you guys do the gift bags for us? So that's somehow we dabble into that industry. And in 2013, we sold the CD, DVD part of the business and now focus exclusively in promotional products.
That's fantastic. So you kind of got into it by accident, by necessity, if you will.
I think all of us in our industry will tell you one way or another, what brought you into the industry, not by choice. Sometimes somehow learn about this industry and, decided to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does have an addicting piece to it. It is fun, creative work. You get to work with clients. So that's awesome. And I'm excited to hear kind of what you've built it into. But well, let's set the context. I mean, you hinted at it a little bit, but promotional products industry, give me in your words, how do you define the promotional products industry?
Thank you. And I think I wanted to be on the air too, for the record. A lot of people thinking about the promotional product industry, they use the word swag, which stands for stuff we all get. This is a word that I never use to my client because in the world that we live in right now, we're eco conscious. We want to be VIP. We want to be personalized. So instead of just randomly give things that people would get, why don't you create a VIP experience? We all want to be VIP when we go to a restaurant, when we may be on board of a plane. Why don't, as a business, we create a VIP experience using the help of promotional product so you can make your client feel that they're VIP, they're special. And then that's how one of the steps that you could turn them into a mini advocates of your brand.
Yeah, that's a fantastic outlook too. I've actually never heard that acronym for swag, but I love it and I'm stealing it because it's it's terrible when you think about it. It's just like slapping a logo on it and giving it to whoever you think would wear it or use it. And that's such a backwards mindset of how to go about, in your words, creating mini advocates, people who want to spread the word about your brand. So let's kind of jump over there because it's like I said, it's a new term for me. I've never heard mini advocates, and I'm curious to hear, how do you define mini advocates, and then how do you go about helping your clients create mini advocates for their brand?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, there's a little mindset shift I wanted to encourage listener to think about as well. We all know that to grow a business, you need to spend money in marketing. You might buy Google ads, or maybe you are doing your blogs, or you're doing anything that you can. You're doing sales call to try to get people through the door. But ask yourself, once they became a customer, what kind of effort, what kind of resources are you putting them so that they will order from you again? Chances are a lot of companies spend more money in acquiring a client, and some of them spend $0 to retain a client. So being a mini advocate, when customer purchase from you, if you don't reach out to them, if you don't promote loyalty, they might never order from you again. So what if you could keep all the customers that walk through your door who have purchased from you? then if they become fans of your business, not only they will tell more people about what you do, and then if they become mini advocates as a standpoint, think about the sports team that you like, think about the musicians that you like, think about, or maybe a church that you could belong to, or a nonprofit that you suggest. They don't pay you, but then you wear the T-shirt, you wear their logo. Whoever that you run into that's slightly hinted they might be in what you're looking for, you tell them without they even asking you. So that's how I would consider a mini advocate of a brand.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy too, because in a lot of those cases, especially a sports team, not only are they not paying you, you're probably paying them a lot of money for you to then just go promote them elsewhere. I mean, it's the greatest business model ever. So when we translate that to our businesses, small businesses, what are some of the ways that you help your clients make that mindset shift of saying, no, your customers should be mini advocates for you? And then some ways to develop some promotional products and promotional materials around that so that they can start giving them to their clients.
I'll suggest a listener to first drop the swag approach. Think about your VIP client. Look at your maybe your accounting books or maybe your sales report for the past year or two. Who are your top 10 client or top 20 client? Which means that give you the most revenue for your business. What kind of people are they? And you better to know who they are, right? You study them. They have a certain title. What kind of communication method do they do? What do they do for fun? Where can you meet more of these people? So you create a VIP list for yourself and then ask yourself, can I create a VIP experience for this top 10 client? And then maybe use promotional product as an incentive. So when they go to a trade show or when they meet their colleague, especially if your contact works at a bigger organization, there are other departments who could utilize the product and services you have. So you actually identify who your ideal client are, you mold them into the many advocates to promote on behalf of your company just by maybe the expense that you have in the campaign or providing the item that they might want to use.
I love that. Is there any like real life examples that you can give me from either clients you've worked with or even for you, for your company? I assume you practice what you preach here. What are some ways that you've actually done this with your clients?
So one of the clients that we have is a tech company, and I work with a couple of their executive assistant over there. So they can be a decent size order, and I know that they belong to a part of a bigger organization. So around the holiday, I'll send them a holiday gift. Way before the holiday. So I always do holiday gifts maybe a month prior, because if you do it at the holiday time, then they get swamped. They have so many gifts that they don't know who sent them. So they love the gifts. And then what you want to do to create this experience, you have to be in communication with them. So I actually call them to make sure that they are received the gifts. And chances are they have your gift, they're more willing to accept your call. And I ask them very simple question. Do you happen to know a colleague, coworker, or a friend who could use our product and services? Would you mind to make an introduction to us? You know, Fast forward 3 years later, I'm working with 50 of the executive assistants within the same organization just by doing what I preach and then ask that question. You have to make sure that they're satisfied with your services, and then you just have to ask. And then these are word of mouth referrals that I'm using. Obviously the cost that I have with promotional product, my time. But if you do it right, you can actually gain a lot of sales by without gaining another customer. So they just refer you.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that too, because a lot of people that I talk to, whether they're clients or just maybe guests on the podcast, say that their number one marketing strategy is referrals. And I tend to push back on that, because coming from a background, our operational background, we're fractional COOs. If you don't have a process around it, it's really not a method of marketing. It's word of mouth at that point. But what you did was very simply pick up the phone and ask for it. That's all you need to do, is just ask for the referral. You have a system behind it. So that's brilliant. And you see what it turned into from 3 to 50 in that size of a company. Probably made maybe a little bit of difference for your company. Am I right to assume that?
Yeah, it's helpful, and you develop a relationship because even happy customer who are really happy, no complaint at all with your product and services. If you don't keep in contact with them, after a while they forgot about who you are. We're just busy. We can't really remember all the companies that we work with, But going back during COVID time, let's say you have to cut budget, for example, chances are the company that you enjoy working with the most is the last one you're going to cut. You don't cut people that you do not enjoy working with. I just hate talking to that person. You're going to cut them right away. So once you need to spend time to develop this relationship, give them something to talk about. That's why when customer, like the number one question that I get from customers, what kind of items should I get? Think about your ideal client. Where are they? Are they behind the desk, or do they work remotely, or do they travel 300 days a year? So once you answer that questions, you can actually filter down to some of the item that's relevant to them. And this is a important point here. It's really not what you want to buy, it's what your ideal client want to receive.
That is such a fantastic question, which is kind of what I was going to ask you next. Is can you give us a sense of what that gift was for those initial three executive assistants? Because I think when a lot of people approach this, there is some fear behind it because it may come across as bribery. It may come across as insensitive, depending on how you do it. So I would love to know what those are, and then you kind of just gave us some best practices of how to approach that. But how do we avoid the scammy gifts and the bribery gifts, if you will?
Yeah, the word I would use is top of mind. So
Yeah.
like it's not bribery, but you have to keep on reminding them that you exist. If listener are sitting behind your desk, look around your desk, see all the postage notes that you have, see maybe the coffee mugs that you have. How many of them has someone else's logo on it? And ask yourself, how do you remember, let's say your plumber or maybe a massage therapist? Who do you have in mind? Why do those people will be the top of mind, the first person that you think of? These are the goals that I'm trying to do with the promotional product. Going back to the executive assistant, I know that they all work behind the desk. I know they all are getting crazy normally around the end of the week, because that's where the company have meeting. The bosses normally will drop the bomb on them Friday afternoon. We have to get this done by the next 2 weeks. So I know they have a lot of post-it notes. They also do a lot of virtual meeting. So the gift that I sent them relate to those areas. They could use it for their daily life, and they need to keep on replenishing it. Something that need a supply of work on. For example, another client that of mine, they sell medical equipment to doctors, and we figure out that the only thing that doctor probably won't buy themselves, but if you send it to them, they'll use it every day, is a local clock. They have a lot of offices around the doctor's office, and then they all need a clock. This is like the last thing that they want to buy. And so the client ended up buying 50 clocks, and they send it to all the doctor's client that they have with their full color logo on the clock, on the wall. Once you put it up, unless you change the battery or change the times, right, with daylight savings, it's going to keep it up there for probably 365 days.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. I love the research aspect to it too, because you'd never think of that. You think a doctor, what do they use? A pen, maybe even a notepad. Those things get lost and thrown away, but the clock is brilliant because they have to stare at it all the time. So just to clarify, you're sending it with your company logo on it because obviously you want them to see your
Yeah,
brand.
the client it decided to do it, so they put their logo on it, and then they send it to their target audience, which are doctors. So end up going on the wall. Not saying that a pen is not useful, because you have to create an experience. For example, let's say you are sponsoring a book signing for a really trending author. So what if you provide a logo pen for the signing? So every time that they sign a book, they give away the pen. Do you think the supporter will keep the pen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about the experience, because if we just met, Brandon, I give you my pen, you probably will be nice enough to take it, but you're probably not going to keep it at all. But by going to that book signing and fit into that signing mentality with the fans for the offer, then this is the pen that you save. And when the president of the United States, when he signed a law into, sign into law, notice that he always give the pen to the people who work on the project. So do you think those people are going to hang on to that pen?
Yeah, I love that, making an experience. That's brilliant, and that's the only way things really have the lasting impact, because it doesn't matter what the product is. They remember how they felt about it, how the experience was for them, and that's the part that's super important. I love that you focus on that with your clients. So I want to turn this to the employee side of things too, because I think that's another area that we miss a lot of times as business owners in creating mini advocates. That's both your customers and your employees. So, what are some ways you've helped your clients uh, treat their employees like mini advocates and create experiences around some maybe promotional products that they've given to their employees?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that conversation, especially if you are in the trade industry or if you have employees that wear company uniform. People do compare their uniform with their competitors, with your competitors, with other that been through the same industry without you knowing it. For example, I hear so many times that when people come to present estimates, right, for my home, for example, I looked at the things that they were. Guys show up dressing properly, polo shirts, logo, with guys, who might come off from a job site and then they don't look as presentable. They know it themselves. And then, employees who are wearing a nice uniform representing the company feel more proud. And without you knowing it, they actually will talk about the uniform that they're wearing. Think about if you give someone a crappy polo that they have to wear 5 times a day and they only have one of them. Versus if you give them a quality polo and you gave them interchangeable, maybe a jacket, maybe a undershirt, things like that, they will feel proud. And when people view your company, they'll feel that you're a professional company as well. So think about when you create, even as simple as uniform, these little details matters.
Yeah, that's a great thing to consider too, because you're not just putting your logo out into the world. You're creating a brand identity, and the way that the person wearing the logo carries themselves says a lot more about it than just how nice it looks on the shirt or on the bag, whatever it is. So those are great tips to take into account if you're going to do this for your company. But Swire, I want to put this on the screen here because you are obviously a master of this, and you are nice enough to give our listeners a free consultation if they want to dive in and maybe develop a plan for their business. You're offering. Tell me exactly what this is. A one-on-one consultation for people.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Everyone is unique, and every business have their own ideal client. So it's not one size fit all. Throw that out of the mind. So, do you prepare? If I ask you the question, who are your ideal client? And please don't tell me everyone, right? Even if you're a restaurant, you don't target everyone. So, with you saying that this will be a deep dive, complimentary consultation, to learn more about your company, to learn more about who you want to connect, then we'll come up with suggest solutions, options for you, and then see if we could help create mini advocates for your brand.
I love this. Coming from a background in this industry, I can speak to this. There's almost nobody in the industry who's thinking about this sector of the market, promotional products, the way that Swire is here. And there's even fewer people who are offering to give you a one-on-one consultation of how you can use promotional products in your business to create mini advocates. Like I said, it's the first time I've heard that term. So I'm just going to go and declare it. He's the only person doing this in the industry. And he's obviously a pro. I can tell he's got amazing ideas. Swire, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brandon.
Now, I do have one last question before I let you go, and it's the most important question. It's a question for a question. You can see behind me, there's a giant question mark. I love questions. We believe that powerful questions get powerful answers. So in the creation of mini advocates for your brand, what question would you give to the listener that they can ask themselves, maybe before they even come to talk to you on this consultation? But what's that one question they can ask themselves so that they can start on this path to create many advocates for their brand using promotional products?
I think that's a great question. To ask that question, I would just simply say, who is the dream client that you love to work with? If resource, your marketing is not an issue, identify that dream client and then make notes about who they are. Even you don't have that dream client already, where did they hang out? who are they, what kind of hobbies that they have. And then that will actually answer a lot of your question without you going in a circle about where you should spend your money, where you should hang out, what kind of blog posts you're doing, and what kind of promotional product you're buying. So think about and ask yourself, who are my dream clients?
I love that. It's such an important question for more than this, for your whole business, for running your whole business. The answer to that question will get you decades further if you can answer it accurately, which most people don't. So think about that. Thank you for listening, for watching, wherever you are. We love bringing you these episodes of Harmonious at Lunch every single day of the week. So make sure you subscribe and go take up Swire on this offer. That's a pretty good offer. All the links will be down below in the show notes as well. And we'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.